HRN listeners. As we celebrate our 15th year, we are deepening our commitment to giving voice to the next generation of food systems storytellers, and we need your help. Our internship and fellowship programs help activate new possibilities for underrepresented and underestimated young people through experiential journalism, audio engineering, and production training. Through these unique programs, HRN helps food equity stewards build essential workforce readiness skills that expand their potential and foster economic mobility. Please consider supporting these critical programs. And with a minimum donation, you can be entered to win a dinner for two at an amazing restaurant in one of 8 cities and tickets to a concert at a great venue in one of those cities. We have incredible partners across the country who have donated, as they also share our passion for helping to educate the next generation of food systems storytellers. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. And make sure you donate before March 31st. Thank you.
This piece was brought to you by Roberta's, robertaspizza.com.
Food and travel. They go hand in hand. And chances are, if you're a fan of Heritage Radio Network, you love them both. Between April 10th and 24th, we have 6 incredible food and travel experiences up for auction at CharityBuzz.com. Go on an underground food tour of New Orleans with a rocket scientist. Get your hands on VIP passes to Feast Portland, or enjoy a ranch-to-table experience in wine country. 4 of the experiences include hotel stays at some of the most iconic properties across the country, including the newly reopened Hotel Claremont in Atlanta. Now's your chance to win the ultimate Bourbon and Beyond weekend in Lexington, or take in a Latin food tour of New York's outer boroughs. You'll eat, drink, explore, and relax, all while supporting Heritage Radio Network. Help us keep the lights on and the mics hot. Go to heritageradionetwork.org/auction and bid now.
Hey, welcome to Beer Sessions Radio on the Heritage Radio Network. Hey, I'm Jimmy Carboni from Jimmy's Number 43, the Good Beer Seal, and today is Tuesday, April 17th, 2018. We've got some great guests joining us tonight, including Josh Bernstein. Hey, Josh.
Oh, hey.
Another great book, Homebrew World, and we're going to be talking about it on the entire show today. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's like all I do is write books.
Well, that's your job. I think you must be happy.
I guess so.
Congratulations, man. Homebrew World, we'll be talking about
happy.
it today. And 2 of the great pro brewers who started as home brewers. We got Svend. Introduce yourself, Svend.
Hey, Svend Lindbaek, Svendale Brewing Company. I have been doing some home brewing back, not that far back, 4 or 5 years ago, and realized very, very quickly that I was not a home brewer. I was an aspiring brewer. And my time was spent home brewing and pursuing starting a
And
brewery.
you've already now opened your own brewery.
I've opened a brewery located in Millerton. It's a production brewery.
Svendale.
Svendale Brewing
Great. And we
Company,
had met through some BJCP classes at Jimmy's Number 43. So we're going to talk to you a lot tonight. And also we got Jason. How are you, Jason Sahler?
Good. How's it going?
Great, man.
Yeah.
So you also started we met as a home brewer.
Yeah.
And you've been Strong Rope Brewing how long now?
Yeah, now a little over about 2.5 almost. December of 2015, we opened Strong Rope Brewery. And before that was home brewing on Josh's tour for quite a while. And
Yeah, Jason basically we're drunk at 61 Local one day, and he's like, I make beer. I'm like, great. I take people to homebrewers' homes. He's like, great, whatever that means.
Let's do it.
And they trusted
And
me.
it was magical ever since.
Well, it's your story, Josh. I mean, you started, your first book wasn't it about tours of homebrewers?
Yeah, first book was really about the story about the American craft beer revolution. This was back in 2009 when really things were just starting to pick up and gather steam. And then we wrote that book, and then people were like, I don't even know what these beers are. So we wrote a complete beer course to talk about the stories and beers and how they evolved. Complete IPA, because we're in an IPA moment. And, the book that really is closest to my heart is Homebrew World, because I mean, the tour started off as just a DIY pursuit, passion on the weekends, riding trains, getting lost, going to strangers' homes, and drinking beer. And I mean, it just amazes me. It was just such a ludicrous concept, and people were never like, "Why is this guy? Who is he? What's he doing?" I mean, this is before like social media, any of that stuff, and so they just trusted me via an email.
And then us going back, there's so many connections in this room. Sven, we met, you were taking BJCP classes.
That's correct. Yeah.
We met through that, and Jason for a long time also, probably through some of Josh's homebrew events.
Yeah, everybody poured at the Jamboree at one time too, over at Jimmy's.
Multiple times for the Jamboree.
Yeah, I was there.
So that's cool. So let's talk about this book. There's backstories. You went to different countries.
I wish, Jimmy.
You didn't get to go.
Hey, Jimmy, you know how publishing works on there too? It's called an advance against earnings. And so, no. But there is, I traveled as much as I could domestically, but one trip to South Africa would basically eat up an entire budget on there too. So as much as you can, but the magic of Skype and other forms of modern communication, you can really get a look and a feel, and you talk to people for a long period of time. But yeah, I wanted to showcase as not just people in basements in America doing it, that really what happened in America 30, 40 years ago is echoing out around the world, from Poland to Patagonia to Thailand and beyond. And I really wanted to find people that are kind of turning their worlds inside out in the same way that Ken Grossman, Jim Cook, and all these other people too. I mean, craft beer, started off as an American concept, but it's really resonated everywhere these days.
Yeah. So want to mention a couple brewers from other countries that you're featured in the book?
Oh yeah, this gentleman Wachit from Thailand. So basically, it's illegal to homebrew in Thailand, and but he runs this sort of illegal homebrew academy off an island near Bangkok in a river. And so basically, people go there and they learn to homebrew, and his goal is to create a homebrew army and kind of change the way Thailand approaches beer. In China, I met this guy Caleb, who basically.
But didn't you put him at risk by putting him in your book?
You know what? He's put himself at. You know what?
Jason's like.
It's funny you answer that, but it's illegal, but it's a fine. I had more trouble finding a home brewer in Japan where you can't brew above 1% legally, and so a number of people were really afraid of the government.
That's funny. I read that in Nico Kremidas wrote an article.
Oh, did he? Look at that.
Edible Brooklyn, but he mentioned the Japanese thing. I would think that Japan would be like on the cutting edge of home brewing. Jason, have you had any interaction with Japanese homebrewers? Do they not really exist?
I'm sure they exist. I do not know any Japanese homebrewers. I actually haven't really met too many homebrewers outside of New York City. But looking through the book, it's really interesting. You see some of these setups, and I know I've seen other people's homebrew setups, but they're pretty impressive. You got like Skype tours of these things?
Yeah, as much as I could. And I think the cool thing about it too is that everybody really approaches it differently. Some people look at turning their brewing setups into a kind of a work of art. Other people are looking, there's this gentleman, Matthias from Germany, who his whole idea is kind of perfecting this system and setup. Doesn't care about writing recipes at all. It's just all about the engineering side of things too. And it's just how everybody approaches it differently, and really the limitations. There was a group in Iceland, and basically what they did, they started their own malt importation company to get malt.
Really? Wow.
And this is just the steps that you would take. Jason, it's like you'd be sitting there in Brooklyn and be like, you know what I should really do? I should travel to Belgium and start a malt importation company.
Yeah, that's the next step.
Yeah.
Well, you might be the next Yeppe from Evil Twin. You start a homebrew shop or a bottle shop and start importing. It's great once you get your hands in it,
Yeah, I really do think too. People, I think you see this sort of journey that everybody's taking around the world. And what's really interesting with Jason Sven, they've taken those steps in different paths in New York City. Jason decided to open up a small 2-barrel brew house in the city, then grow with that. And you started out by opening up upstate, and you're looking to maybe potentially open up taproom in New York City. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. We opened up a 10-barrel brewing facility with the idea that I didn't have to expand. So now I just have to grow into
crazy
it.
Talk.
I would like to think so, but I didn't want to have to grow into it. I wouldn't have to expand, but I'm growing into the space. And currently I'm working on a tasting room in Carroll Gardens. We have our application in. We're waiting for approval, and it can be another couple of months before I get the approval, and then another couple of months for a build-out.
So it's important for you to really have a New York City component where people can come visit you, because, of course, not everybody is going to go to Millerton or even know where that's at on the map.
Absolutely. It's necessary, because I feel that you have to have the outlet for the brewery. So I'm hoping that will be the base.
So what sort of styles, I guess, is sort of a selfish question. What are you making? What should we be drinking right now?
You should be drinking our hobby lager. I started out calling it a IPL, but I realized that the IPLs are usually cloudy, and I don't think a lager should be cloudy.
You can do whatever you want.
I like that idea. We're making it clear.
And then, Josh, what was the first beer we had?
Oh, I don't even know. I drank it. I got all greedy because I got my daughter here with me in the studio.
That's that cute little noise in the background.
Yeah, she's just playing iPad.
Is Violet, who's our...
Yes.
Everyone knows we're on social media.
Hey, Violet, do you want to say hi real quick? No,
She's
shook her head
busy.
no. The first beer is at Svendale Brewing. They're one of Georgia's preeminent sort of brewers of hazy modern IPAs right now, and so they just started rolling into cans in a big way by working with Brewdog in Columbus, and so you're going to see a lot more of them down south. She wants water.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys going to take care of her.
We're going to take care of that while I drink.
All
my
right.
drink.
And then so Sven, the first beer. This has been a really. I want to say how cool the show is. Like knowing all of you guys for so long, and Josh following your writing career. But I always thought that you would never write a book about home brewing again.
I don't homebrew, Jimmy. I mean, that's the deepest irony, and I mean, but it's sort of like it's a thing that people think that just because you write about beer, you should be good at every part of it. You should be a master BJCP judge. You should be a master cicerone. You should be all these things all together. And there's certain parts of your career that you can be good at, and some you can be bad at. And I learned early on that when you're writing all day about beer, going out all night, that you can't just do everything. And so, I can talk about brewing, no brewing, but in this case, I really decided to, I knew what I knew, and I knew how to interview people, but I hired the folks from Bitter Nesters to go over all the recipes to make sure that things sung and that made sense to homebrewers. And Bitter Nesters is, the best and only homebrew shop in New York City.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did a great job making sure that everything from when you're getting things from people from all around the globe, that there was some sort of like, homogenization about the recipes, and they all looked alike.
Jason, have you checked out the book yet? I wonder
Yeah.
if there's any recipes or stories that are interesting to you.
I mean, I've just skimmed through it at this point. I think one, it looks beautiful. Two, it's really cool to see what everyone's doing, kind of all around the world, and how similar, but some things are just different. It's really a wide range of what's going on, and it's fascinating. I really want to delve into it deeply.
Yeah, I think there's a flattening effect where anybody can make a hazy IPA today, but also there's certain things that you're gonna get where in these certain countries you have indigenous ingredients like Patagonian hops, going out to Alaska doing spontaneous ferment. So there's a way that people are really embracing their own terroir and making it something suitably unique to themselves.
See, that's what I would love to see. I would love to get in there more and really kind of delve into people that are exploring their regional ingredients and doing more with that.
Yeah, given what you're doing, your interests.
I mean, yeah.
And what about like crazy events? Are there like events where 500 people are brewing all together and things like that?
I don't know. That seems really complicated and wet and messy. I mean, there are too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, and only so many propane tanks go around. I mean, one of the interesting things happening in the professional amateur beer world is there's a lot of wort giveaways nowadays where Bell's and other breweries will brew big batches of wort and give it away. Then whoever makes the best thing out of it will be able to get their recipe scaled up. And there's other things like Zoigel Brewing in Portland, Oregon. They basically have this thing where you can buy wort from them. They give you a 5-gallon carboy filled of wort, and you can pick out what yeast strain you want and what hops you want, and you just dose it yourself. So it's a way of just making homebrew accessible in every sort of level to everybody.
That's really cool. Have you heard of that, Jason?
I have heard of that. I think Kelso did it one year.
Yeah, the wort giveaway, they did that too.
Yeah.
Some other people have done it. We've definitely been looking to try to do some type of unique partnership with homebrewers. We have a couple of homebrew club meetings in the tap room at Strong Rope Brewery, and really just want to kind of give back to the community that was allowed me to get open, and it's important to kind of keep those ties and stuff. I don't want to lose that. So yeah, I've actually thought about the wort giveaway, but we haven't kind of come up with a unique idea to kind of spin that or work that into.
Jason's also not making enough beer to even in the tap room right
But
now.
Sven might be
Yeah.
10-barrel system.
If you want to travel up to Millerton, it's a 2-hour drive, but Certainly. I mean, I think it's a great idea.
What's cool about this, you're really making me think about the homebrew scene, and so many of the homebrewers that we know are now pros, like Jason's in the room, Sven, KCBC.
Well, I think New York City is really unique in the sense that if you're going to open up a business here, you almost have to live here because you just have to like eat that entire cost. You're just like, you don't even think about the cost. Like, I'm here, I'm going to make this like world work for me too. So you see so much of what's happening in the beer world right now came directly from the homebrew scene. KCBC, Strong Rope, Lindbaek, Single Cut, Transmitter, the head brewer over at Gun Hill is a former home brewer. I mean, head brewer
5 Boroughs
at Keg and Lantern. Every single person, I mean, every single person basically was a homebrewer and wanted to start things up right now.
Garrett was homebrewing too before.
Yeah, and so there's just this deep homebrewing background. So we don't have a bunch of mercenaries and hired guns that are just like, how can we make a bunch of money in New York City making beer? And the answer is you probably can't. But you can make a great living and you can make something that's amazing. I think it just shows that that's possible.
Cheers. Well, we're going to take a short break. After a great start, we'll be back in a few minutes on Beer Sessions Radio. All right.
Yeah.
My name is Brandon Hoy, co-owner of Roberta's, a super duper awesome place. Roberta's is a very, 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 very proud sponsor of the Heritage Radio Network. We're also super awesome. Thank you, Heritage.
Hey, welcome back to Beer Sessions Radio on the Heritage Radio Network. Hey, we're talking Homebrew World with Josh Bernstein. Josh, so great to have you back. And this is your new book that's out now, right?
Oh, yeah, today.
Today, this is the on-air book launch?
On-air book launch. Can we get... Yeah.
Wait, this is the on-air book launch of Homebrew World, kids.
It is, Jimmy. It is, yes. Jimmy. You got this,
Great job, Josh. Thank you, Justin Kennedy. And Sven, we're drinking... My buddy Sven, who I knew you were at BGCP classes at Jimmy's number 43. I walked in today. I hardly recognized you, but I recognize you. And thank you for coming on, man. So we're drinking one of your beers. What is this?
This is...
Svendale up in Millerton, New York, a new brewery.
That is correct. This is 4 on the floor.
I'll actually have more if there's any.
4 on the floor. It's a hobby lager. Chinook powder, Mosaic, Citra, and Cascade. Kind of like a clear IPA based on a lager.
Well, thank you. And since so many of, it's like friendships and professional relationships seem to have, some people either worked in breweries together, but it seems so many more of us went to homebrew meetings and homebrew events. Jason, how have they changed? I remember 10, 12 years ago at New York City homebrew meetings, it'd be an older crowd and they'd be doing things like, sampling beers made with pine needles.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of sampling, and there was a handful. I mean, the New York City Homebrewers Guild, which has been around for a long time, it still has a great group of people there. We host the Brewminaries and the Brewdies, which are 2 other homebrew clubs in our tap room. And the Brewminaries, I think, have really, no offense to my friends of the Brewdies, but the Brewminaries, they take it to kind of another level with the amount of people and everyone that they got in there. And
very organized, community-driven, even anarchic in the sense. It's just like it's great to see them just go all out. I mean, I think New York City is a hard city to know people in, and the beer just like cuts through that barrier right away, and it lets you find a community. And
they've created a huge, along with like kind of being somewhat tied in with bitter nesters or just close to them. When they come to they do so much in terms of experimentation, and they have enough members to really do a lot of variations on a single theme or something unique. Which. While that I think happened, in those older clubs, in the past, it's really kind of taken on a new level with what's going on with current clubs and stuff. So it's really cool to see.
It's also easier than ever because, I mean, you hark back. I mean, getting homebrew ingredients was tough
Right.
in the pre-internet, ingredient store days. I mean, like, basically, things really started taking off when the folks from, Brooklyn Homebrew, RIP, basically, Benjamin and Danielle, they basically opened up a homebrew supply shop in their apartment in Sunset Park.
And do you think, like, around the world, the home brewers that you guys are meeting, they also can order online? Is that accessible to everybody?
To what
can the homebrewers that you met around the world, are they able to access the supplies online?
I would say a big challenge would be sort of. I would say a big challenge is getting fresh yeast. A lot of people can get dried yeast, but getting fresh yeast is a big challenge for a lot of people too. You can get most of the hops, I would say, but I mean, I would not say you're going to get them immediately. Things you have to travel on a big boat and go overseas in places too. But people find all sorts of ways to get the grains they want. I mean, when the guys in China has a connection with other people and they travel back to mainland and they get stuff, and other people they'll have certain drops around the country when they have their friends when they come visit them in China, they'll go bring everything back there. Yeah. So they just fill their suitcases up with stuff and cross their fingers and no one asks why there are all these pounds of hops
What's
in there.
that green stuff?
And then Jason, it must be like a lot of homebrew clubs are going to breweries and you're like sitting in on brews.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. We've done a couple different beers with the homebrew clubs, and I know they're reaching out to the other breweries with that. With those home brewers opening up their own breweries, there's this kind of connection, and people have been really supportive, at least in New York City, really supportive about bridging that gap between the homebrew and the commercial beer world, and it's just awesome to see, and it just raises the overall beer world and beer community, and we have this great relationship, and I think it's important to kind of keep that going and cultivate that.
All right. And Sven, is this another one of your beers?
Yes.
You've got beers and bottles with labels.
Yes.
And this is a production bottle with a label.
It is.
So you're doing that at your brewery.
Yes,
and that's great news to me. I'm surprised.
No, this is.
I see so many cans and I see kegs. I haven't seen someone with a nicely labeled bottle in a long time.
We have these at ABC Beer Company in Alphabet City. We have them at the Chico's, and we have them to give to you.
Thank you.
It's a raspberry kettle sour. Good amount of raspberry in the fermentation and dry hop with lime peel.
Nice.
It's a 6.5%.
No, you're talking about homebrew success stories. I mean, like I said, not too long ago, you were at BJCP classes and you were doing all the homebrew events. I didn't know you opened a brewery until today, up in Millerton, and it sounds like you're doing quite well.
I hope so. I mean, we are distributing to accounts upstate. They've been extremely supportive. There's a bar in Vaseg. They took our beer literally the first evening. We caked a Sixtel, brought it down on a Friday night, and they're like, yeah, you can have the Budweiser tap. And
so did that make
Nice.
you think that this was a possibility, that you'd made the right path, the right decision?
Absolutely.
Because you did not come from, you did not work at a million other breweries. You had another career before this.
I was a photographer for 20 years in New York City, and I shot fashion, still lifes, and by the way, looking at your book, it's really, really nice.
Look at that. Yeah. Fashion photographer.
No, absolutely. It's a beautiful
Endorsement.
design. So
I always say nobody's going to just look at words and say they're sexy words. Yeah, it has to actually look halfway decent, too.
I agree.
Sexy
It's
words.
it's very good looking.
Nice adjectives, Bernstein.
Yeah. No, and
Josh, you're on a
actually,
roll, man. I love you.
my dark room in my studio was converted to a homebrew space. I had a great fan, so it would take all the fumes when I was brewing my beer.
That's good.
I mean, 9th floor on Broadway with a propane burner. It was good.
Propane burner inside.
Yeah.
You don't say that. You don't do that. But let's say,
it's out now.
actually,
Yeah.
the difference between brewing upstate and in New York City. So actually, your heat source upstate, you're using liquid propane.
Yes,
gas,
we
aren't
have
you?
we have a direct fire system. That's
Yeah.
correct. That does the job. I mean, it's limited installation, so it's good.
And really, what you rented a barn,
Yep.
and it's minimal. What any building department issues or minimal issues up there.
Minimal issues.
You talked about that you're opening a tap room in Carroll Gardens.
Yes.
Can you say where?
Not yet. I would like
Okay.
to.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
I
no.
could.
You could.
But actually, you lay out the plan because this is good advice for everyone.
Okay.
So you don't have the lease, but you have an intent to lease.
So the for the farm brewer's license,
And this is the way to do it, everyone. Potential bar owners, brewers, listen to Sven.
Absolutely. I did not want to start building and preferably not paying rent on a space that would not work for me. So the landlord, he agreed to give me a letter of intent to lease, and I have sent in the application. It's been there
So
for a
to
month.
the New York State, that's all you needed.
State Liquor Authority, they require an intent to lease, at least for the farm brewer's permit. I don't know what it is for the.
And this is purely just one of the satellite locations. For
That
the
is
farmer.
correct. That's correct.
You're not brewing, or you are going to be brewing there.
I will not be brewing.
Okay, so it's just a tap room.
Purely a tap room.
Okay,
and
cool.
with the farm brewer's license, you have the ability to have 4 offices in addition to a brewery, and one of those offices will be the tasting room.
Great. And then so what's the next step? If you get approved by the state,
I anticipate that they will send me a preliminary approval. One of them is that they will like to see pictures of the space ready to open, usually they say 60 to 90 days. We're 30 days in on the application. So as soon as I get the word from them and know that the list of requirements are achievable, I will sign the lease and I will start construction and move forward.
so you're ready to go any day.
Yeah.
But that's sound advice. I mean, a lot of people end up spending a long time. I mean, Jason, how long did it take you from start to finish to open Strong Rope?
Let's see. I think it was about 9 months, 10 months. We thankfully didn't have to do too much to our space. It was previously Brooklyn Brine, the pickle company, and it was very much set up for a production facility. We just switched over from pickles to beer. So
That's great.
yeah.
And Josh, you must be seeing so many cool things happening in the world. If you're,
Am I?
Are you?
What am I seeing, Jimmy?
On Skype or by Google?
Skype. All I do is look at things on the internet. And
So
pretend like
another country.
it's
So
real life.
we heard about the guy in Thailand and no one's homebrewing in Japan.
It's not nobody. I mean, it's just sort of. I would say that people are doing it, but they're not bragging about it. They're not doing that. And my daughter wants pizza. We're gonna ask, what's interesting? So you're asking me.
Well, mention a couple other countries that are featured in your book.
Well, I think, Poland, when we talk about contract brewing, so many of Poland's homebrewers launched their businesses. I think like 90-odd%, don't quote me on that, started off their businesses via contract brewing. I mean, it went from there too. So, I mean, this thing that was stigmatized in America is something that was a path and an avenue there. In Germany too, there's so much excess capacity in Germany right now. And I think there's a fun story. Crystal Peck, she's in the book, from Australia, lives in Berlin. So she and her boyfriend have a company called Parasite Productions, and they'll take basically already finished beer and then adulterate it afterward too, like maybe putting Rodenbach through an alternate fermentation or doing something like that. So taking what's considered done beer and taking it into like a totally novel new direction.
So it's like a great Lambic house, like Dry Fontaine or something.
Kind of, but even more so than that, because there's no collaboration there. It's like you're buying a raw product and you can have it whatever direction you want. It's sort of like a restaurant sending you a dish and you're just like, you know what? You're like, this burger should maybe really be soup. And then doing that.
So were all the photographer or all the photographs in the book, are those just from whoever, from brewers, or?
Good heavens, Jason, that's a great question, because I don't know if you ever tried to collect like 40-odd pictures from people in 20-odd time zones or whatever.
I have not done that yet.
So basically, I would say a mixture of, sometimes we had photographers go out there, sometimes they had photographers they knew took some pictures, other times it was... For instance, I looked at Sven, you can appreciate this. I got the book almost final draft in layout, and I was like, about 30% of these pictures stink. They're terrible. So then I had about 4 days to go out and really figure out how to make these visuals much better. So I did a deep, 4-day dive of and I found, a freelance photographer that had taken pictures of this guy in Thailand. So I got great pictures of them in there too, and I found all these other things, and it just really but that last little hard push really made the book from something that was looked good to something that looked great, I feel. But it's hard. It's not so easy. I mean, photo budgets are also crap. And so you're forced to kind of work within confines. And also, when you can have your publishers activate their purse strings, you have to be like, you know what, this is really important. They need to look at these. These books are going to sit on coffee tables. Like, I'm not an idiot. I know these books are going to get bought for, holidays and birthdays and sometimes not even cracked. But it needs to look good for that place it's sitting at, too.
Do you think that some of the people you featured in your book will become heroes?
Hopefully.
Community?
I think so. I mean, I think they're already heroes in their own land. Are we going to hear about them? I don't know. I mean, because I think, what daughter wants pizza.
You got Violet here.
Hey.
Yeah. Jason, let's pop one of your beers and tell us some updates with what you're doing. I haven't seen you in a while. You had New York City Beer Week. Last year, you were behind the Rye Week.
No. We try to participate in all of the things. So right now, I'm going to be pouring our pub ale, which is it does not the sound when it pours. This is the sound. And I'll just pass it around. So this is one of our kind of we call it a bitter. It's pretty much just our pub ale. Trying to go back, harken back to those days of when there was just beer from local pub. You would just go and drink it, and it's just that great session beer that you would have 4 or 5 of, and just really try to enjoy it. And it was something that you didn't think about, but when you did think about it, it actually had depth and balance and just this really beautiful structure. That's something people have been enjoying, and we've been selling a lot of. And since we've been selling a lot of beer, we're actually going to be increasing our fermentation capacity and our overall barrel capacity this week, tomorrow actually.
Yay!
Congratulations.
We've got
Is this like one button they just keep on pressing over and over and over again? You guys need to spring for the deluxe version of hand applause.
I think your daughter has more sounds on her.
I totally thought that was Violet's thing.
Was that her?
Well, this is good. Congratulations, Jason. And
Thank
now
you.
we're going to take a short break. We'll be back for one more session on Beer Sessions Radio. All right.
Hey, thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network. This is Katie, HRN Executive Director, and I'm so excited to share with you our coverage from the Charleston Wine and Food Festival.
We are here live today at Charleston Wine and Food.
Join us as we talk all things food.
Come to Charleston, eat some seafood. Eat all of the seafood.
Chicken fried chicken with chorizo steak and salsa verde mashed potatoes.
So quintessentially like Southern fare at its finest.
And have important conversations.
We're also talking about professional women in restaurants and how underrepresented they are, people of color in restaurants, and how they're not talked about.
We get real with Food Network's Manit Chauhan.
Balance is BS. I was told that I wasn't going to be bleeped out.
And find out about raising sugarcane with Chef Sean Brock.
It's like being Indiana Jones or something. You never know what you're going to find.
You'll come away inspired by the power of food and the food scene in Charleston. Here's Dr. Jessica B. Harris.
Food is constantly in flux. Food is always moving. Food is the only real lingua franca that we have that allows us to connect with other folks.
So tune in to Heritage Radio Network on tour at heritageradionetwork.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can't go wrong.
Hey, welcome back to Beer Sessions Radio on the Heritage Radio Network. Hey, we got Homebrew World, the new book from Josh Bernstein. This is the on-air book launch, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh. First in the
that
world.
sound again.
David, one more time.
Maybe you guys had to get the deluxe edition.
But first, let's go back. So, Jason, Strong Rope, we're drinking a pub beer that you made. And just give yourself a shout out. You are the guy kind of leading the charge in New York City for using New York ingredients. You're in connection with New York malt farmers and hop growers.
Yeah. We're part of the farm brewery kind of licensed crowd and farm brewers in New York State that are trying to utilize New York State ingredients. The license right now dictates that you use 20% New York hops and 20% New York malts. It's jumping up to 60% in 2019 and then 90% in 2024. We are hopefully working towards this year, this summer, to be 100% New York hops and New York malts across the board for all of our beers. The farms have really, the farms and the malt houses have really started to up their specialty malt game. So we're hoping to be able to make that switch, and we're just trying to showcase that in our beers, whether it's this kind of lighter bitter pub ale, to our IPAs, to we just kegged up our red ale Blood of Gods. It's not that, it's the IPA, but we're getting specialty malts in now that we can actually play with, and then really showcasing those ingredients, because it's fascinating what's going on, and we really want to give those creators their due, just like we get our due.
And then this year's New York City Beer Week, did you spearhead any efforts to get other brewers to work with New York ingredients?
Yeah, so we're every beer week we're trying to do a kind of a New York City little competition thing with what we call smash beer, not the typical smash beer, which is a single malt, single hop. Our smash beer is a state malt, state hop. So it was kind of whatever you could produce using 100% New York ingredients. So we had about 16, brewers participate and showed a great range of the beers, and it was just a really fascinating. For me, it's really geeky because I love to see what people can come up with in that framework. I'm really fascinated and really interested in seeing what the brewers do with those ingredients, because everyone's going to approach it a little differently, and I really want to see how someone takes those same malts and same hops that we use and interpret it in their own style.
Yeah. And Sven, now up in Millerton, you're a New York Farm Brewery license?
That's correct. I want to say that Jason, he's a great resource, very generous with information. We are still, let's say, using the 20% in order to fulfill our requirements. But we have a neighboring farm, McEnroe's, and they actually planted 12 acres of barley. They're organic farm, so they planted in fall to beat the weeds. I just went to look at it the other day, and I see an inch. So it's
a barley that you might be able to have malted and brew with.
Yeah, so we have a relationship with them. They're like literally 5 minutes away, and currently they take all our spent grains, feed it to their cows, to their pigs, get great meat. I have actually supplied beer that they've been using in their. They have a kitchen up there. They have been brining meats with my beer, and so we have a good relationship. Yeah. And this fall, they agreed. They wanted to. They wanted to make a beer that was from Millerton with the ingredients. So.
And where is Millerton again?
Millerton is northeast of Poughkeepsie.
Okay,
cool. It's a good question. There's so many towns outside of the city.
Dutchess County, just on the borders of
But Jason, quick question. So he's saying they basically they planted barley as kind of a cover crop. That's called. Is that what you're saying? They planted it as a cover crop?
No, the reason they planted it in fall was that they wanted to get a head start. So when spring comes, it's already in the process.
So it's like is that a winter barley?
I think it's a winter barley,
Yeah.
And it is literally because it's a 100% organic farm, so they cannot use any pesticides. So they have to make sure that it grows organically.
Yeah. And Jason, in terms of there's so many different barleys being developed in New York State.
Yeah.
I mean, some barley was used as like a cover crop or an in-between crop.
You mean prior to all the malting that's going on? Yeah,
before people thought about
everyone was doing it as feed. I mean, it was just grown for bulk production, so that it would go towards cattle, pigs, or whatever.
But that type of barley, that barley's been used in is that type of barley maltable? Is that type of barley worth?
No, I mean they've had.
beer?
I mean, the thing is, they've had to work the malt houses and the farmers, and have had to work with organizations like Cornell and other institutions to figure out which varieties are actually going to produce proper malting barley. Like, no, you can't just substitute this feed crop for a seed crop, because you need those seeds to have the right combination of proteins and starches and everything else. And it has to weather properly, and it has to grow properly, and it has to be, the right. It has to be not susceptible to diseases or other things. So there's a lot of work going in, and the same with the hops. There's a lot of work and development going on with what is being developed in New York, and it's going to take time. And we're kind of taking that initial. I don't know if risk is the right word, but we're taking that initial step to work with these ingredients, even if they're not necessarily that kind of where they're going to be, that pinnacle of where they're going to actually end up. We're trying to kind of work with it in that time frame that needs to be.
And Jason, you know what? It's one thing I love about you and your beers. And quick shout out, what is the beer we're drinking?
So this is our flagship IPA, Strong Rope IPA. This is 100% New York ingredients. It's hops from a couple different farms, Chinook, Centennial, just really kind of beautiful, somewhat classic in terms of the profile, but a little hazy just because the way that our process works and unfiltered. And it's just
great. I promise you're going to come back, Jason. We're going to do another show just about local and New York grains.
Okay.
And we'll run with that. Now, Josh, talk about, we've got some heroes in the room, Homebrew to Pro. Let's jump to, from your book, Homebrew World, is there another, featured person you'd like to mention before?
Well, I think there's a fun, interesting story. There's this collective of 6 gentlemen in Iceland. Iceland is, a country, like Reykjavik is smaller than, there are fewer people in Iceland than there are in Brooklyn by a huge magnitude. And so when you try to go there, so of course you're not just going to be able to walk into a local store and make whatever you want happen for Homebrew World stuff. And so what they did was they banded together. They found like an old vintage washing machine, converted that into a brew kettle. They started this importation business, and they would just start traveling, travel around wherever they could. A lot of people come to the U.S. or New York City particularly to get ingredients and go back and just sort of trying to...
It used to be they'd come for jeans. Now they come for malt.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what we're talking about, Jimmy. You were talking about the Russian thing from like 40 years ago? Like
I don't know.
Levi jeans?
You come shop in New York.
I don't know if there's a lot of people from Iceland. They're just like, you know what? I'm going to hop on a plane to get Levi's.
Exchange?
Anyhow.
How old are you, Josh?
I'm old enough to know better.
You never traveled to Budapest with Levi's and traded them in a better exchange rate?
No.
You're not traveling.
But now you're doing it with malt and hops.
But it really was just like finding a way everybody overcame limitations. I think that's really the big thing. If there's one thing that cut through the thread, it's like how all these people overcame limitations. The guy in China that was selling beer via WeChat social media app, he basically bought a bunch of convenience store, fridges. Like you go into Bodega and you pull out your Coke, you pull out your whatever Pepsi. He bought a bunch of those for his fermentation chambers. Chris Allen down in Tennessee, he has a house built into into the side of a hill, so basically keeps everything a certain temperature. Then he outfit his garage with a fermentation thing that would basically make Jason cry about how beautiful it is.
I cry often.
I know. We all do, but you know what? The hugs make it all better.
And then in some of these countries, the homebrew guys, you said some of them are going ahead and contract brewing.
I was saying in Poland that was really the case. That was a path forward. That was the way you kind of made it happen there too. But I wouldn't say there's a ton of people doing. I mean, every country is different. I mean, the set of economic circumstances, a set of sort of what production capacity you have in your nation. I mean, countries like Poland and Germany, you're talking about they were huge, lager production realms, and so it's maybe they don't need as much of that as they used to. So people are finding ways to really take advantage of, inefficiencies.
Last beer. Sven has one more beer. And
Sven's
then
got so many more beers.
any stories from Africa?
No.
Nothing? Not even South Africa?
Oh, South Africa. Good God. Why forget? It's terribly sad, but the gentleman I interviewed in South Africa died when I was producing the book. We included him in there, which is great.
Because you had a bad photo of him? Or?
It's probably a downer to even talk. But no, Kevin Ryan, I mean, South Africa has got a huge homebrewing community and scene. And a lot of them very entrenched for decades. And I mean, using indigenous herbs and grains and ingredients and stuff that you typically wouldn't even think of. So we do talk about this one gentleman, Kevin Ryan, and yeah, it was one of those crazy situations where things went to production, and I wrote Kevin. I'm like, hey, Kevin, we had a great chat, just getting pictures together for this stuff, and I'm like, why is Kevin ghosting on me? And then eventually I realized and found out via other things. It's just a sad story, but we include him in the book too. Just and put in an in memoriam thing as much as we can do. We want to honor his heritage, and people supplied their last recipe that he ever wrote for the last homebrew competition thing he did, and so that's in the book right now.
And what was he doing? Was he doing like craft style homebrew? Or was he doing?
Yeah, craft. I think the last recipe was a saison in there, and I mean, but saison run through his prism and his sort of idea of what the best farmhouse style beer brewed in South Africa could ever be, and he made that.
So I know, this is your on-air launch. This is the launch of Homebrew World. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, doing it, making up words.
But this weekend, you're doing a live launch at Fifth Hammer Brewing in Queens.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have foam fingers. Well, I don't know. We're trying new concepts and stuff. I mean, good God, it's like book number 4 and going around the country and smiling and standing on concrete at breweries and being like, hey, y'all, buy my book. And then people not looking at you because they're afraid they're going to lose $25 if they actually shake your hand and talk to you. So we want to have a really fun event where the idea is as such that
Sharpie's worth $25.
Are they?
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, I got a drawer full of Sharpies. It could pay off.
But you have jumping into it. But I know that Mary Izett.
Yeah, Mary Izett and
who
Chris
wrote Speed Brewing
and Chris Kuzma. They're both in the book together. So they opened up Fifth Hammer Brewing. So we're having our party there at Fifth Hammer. Me and Chris collaborated on sort of a brunch friendly apricot laced Hefeweizen whip beer type of thing. Nice. And then we're going to have a whole homebrew lounge. And here's how we're going to get you to buy my book. It's free to go to. So buying a book is $25 and you get a pint of beer with it. Oh, look at these. The deals just keep stacking up. Then you get a koozie, a $5 value. Then you get access to the homebrew lounge, which is in the back of the brew house. So the idea was
I really want free beer.
I really want to celebrate all the homebrewers too. So we tab Mary and 7 or 8 different homebrewers to all make special beers for it. Dollar bills. Because this is really.
Are you going to be there?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I have to.
But yeah, and then we're going to give away the recipes too, because I think just asking somebody to make beer for an event like this feels sort of like tasking them to do something. By allowing them to share their recipe, it really taps in the collaborative spirit of homebrewing and doing all these things together. So I want people to walk away from there thinking about different ways they could really approach making beer.
Congrats, man. Josh, Homebrew World, it's available starting today.
On the internet and bookstores.
And thank you for doing an on-air launch on Beer Sessions Radio. Sven, the last beer, what is it? Sven from Svendale
It's
Brewing?
actually Svendale.
Svendale Brewing
But,
in Millerton, New York.
Yeah.
What's this beer?
It's an export stout. And we brewed it, fall, winter last year. This is our second batch. It's pretty fresh. And I just think we have to have an export stout. And it's really good, particularly with a little bit of the IPA from Jason, Strong Rope. With it gives a nice aroma.
Yeah.
We're finishing up 3 casks of barrel age of the export stout. Hill Rock Distillery is
Great New York State distillery.
Exactly. So we have 3 barrels from them, and
Now,
full of.
Will you be able to taste this on our homebrew tour with Josh? That is going to showcase our old homebrew places on May 12th?
May 12th. Oh my gosh, that's a great.
May 12th.
Yeah,
that's
May
a great,
12th.
Well, are you coming?
I'm being there. I'm gonna be there. Yeah, we're going from you to me to our brewery on May 12th for Josh's book releases as well.
We're gonna make it's like we're gonna make the radio come to real life.
So
Josh,
you're planning on actually attending the taste at my house.
I'm trying. I'm going to try. We'll see if it works.
Sven's house, Jason's house. Where do we find out about your events, Josh?
Oh,
because you do so many great ones.
Just so happen to have a website, joshuambernstein.com.
Wonderful. And I think that's it, guys. We're going to close out. Everyone just go around the room one more time, say your name and who you are.
I am joshuambernstein.com.
Author of Homebrew World.
Homebrew World.
I'm Svend Lindbaek from Svendale Brewing Company.
I'm Jason Sahler from Strong Rope Brewery.
Great. And we're going to give a special shout out. We got a buddy in the room. Robert, just give a quick shout out.
Hey, this is Robert from Brew Spice. This is Spice is essentially craft beer in spice form.
Yeah, so he's been here videotaping the show. He's a guy that I know as the video Instagrammer at the Hop Blog, and he's come out with it's Brew Spice Co. It's so spices for cooking.
Essentially spices for
Inspired
cooking that
by
allow you to
beers.
pair your favorite foods, your whatever you're eating with your favorite beers.
Right. Yeah. Well, good luck to you, man. We're going to do a lot more with you. And again, thanks to everyone. Thanks for joining us here on Heritage Radio Network. Big shout out to our producer, Justin Kennedy, our engineer, David Tadashore, and I'm Jimmy Carboni. Thanks for joining us here on Beer Sessions Radio. We'll catch you next time. All right. Woo!
This is how we do it.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to hear about exclusive events, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at heritage_radio. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be a part of the food world's most innovative community? Rate the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join our community by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.